So we're going to be using drawing borders. So drawing borders, and we'll open them up right now. We're going to click on that page, and you'll notice I have 4 of them out there right now. 2 of them are what we call English borders or inch borders, an A and a B. An A is going to be an 8.5 by 11. A B is going to be an 11 by 17. We've talked about those sizes in the past. It's kind of like the difference between a piece of paper and then 2 pieces of paper. Okay. And then the same thing for the metric borders. The metric borders are called out in a little bit different way, and that's why I put it in parentheses there. So the metric border A4 is 2 millimeter dimensions, but it's literally an A size or an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. Okay. And then the A3, which is the metric border, where millimeters are going to be the units, that's an 11 by 17 or a B size. Okay. So you have one of each in each one. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to download these to a place that you can get back at them. So if that's going to be a jump drive, maybe where your template file is, or if it's going to be on your OneDrive, that's totally fine. But you're going to want to now download these somewhere that you can get back to them. So to download them, you're simply going to use this downward arrow. And then you're going to notice that it's going to go up to your downloads folder. There's a little icon here now. So you can, instead of going and navigating all the way to the folder, you can do that downward arrow and you can simply click on the WCTC _A, ignore unresolved. When you do that, this is going to be the border that we have. So you'll notice that it looks kind of official, okay? And let's talk about our drawing border so that we kind of understand the purpose for it and what's all here. So number 1, this means that within the confines of this area right here, the blank area on the inside, this is where all of your drawing and dimensions have to occur. They cannot go outside or go beyond any portion of the inside, portion of that border. Okay. All of it has to be within the open space. No exceptions. Okay. If anything is overlapping or too far out, you need to move it so that it can be within. Okay. Now, as we look at the components of our title block, we're going to notice some things that are probably familiar to us. First and foremost, you're going to notice that down here is, if you would, the company. You guys are drawing, if you would, in school here. So this is WCTC's logo and, just kind of their tagline here, right? So what that does in the case of a company is it says, this is our property, okay? And a lot of times there's even a statement saying that exclusively this is the property of and only for the purposes of, our company. This is ours, okay? Because it's actually owned by the company for whoever you end up working for, okay? In the case of WCTC, it means that you are doing this for educational purposes. So you obviously, and we've talked about this, using software that is education version, you cannot make a profit from it, okay? So we're practicing, we're gaining a skill in using CAD. Now, additionally, beyond that, you're going to notice that there's these other fields that are here. Okay. First of all, there's a part number field. Now, right now, it's populated with this T3. Okay. And that's because when we pull the border in later on, you're going to find out there's a little bit of automation in the background. It's called a macro. And in that automation, you're going to be able to fill in the material, the date, the scale, the drawn by, your initials or name, the part name and the part number. Okay. So when I pull this up right now, I don't fill it in, but when I pull it into a drawing later on we're going to find out as a block, we're going to insert it, then that field is going to come up and I can automatically put it in and it populates this for me really nicely. Okay. So that's what the T numbers are. Okay. Additionally, you're going to see the letter A here. This letter A just signifies it's an A size drawing. Okay. Up here, it says this drawing conforms to the ASME 14.5 M 2000 and, oops, that's supposed to say 2018 standard. I will get that updated, but for right now, we'll go with it. And all that means is we are using the dimensioning standard for everything that's on this drawing. Okay, so that we are in conformance. It also says do not scale this drawing. And the reason for that is when this drawing is printed out with all of its information and all the dimensions on and such, when we say scale it, you can't take a scale and walk up to it and just measure it to find out a dimension that you need. Okay, if it's not explicitly on the drawing. And the reason for that is because, as you can imagine, when we print this out, we always say scale to fit to the paper, right? And then it just prints it out on a printer. We're not printing it out full size 1-to-1 scale. We're printing it to fit on an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. So that's why it says do not scale this. And that's why it's even more important that we have all of the information needed to make each and every feature on the drawing through the dimensioning that we provide. Okay. Over on the left-hand side here, these are going to be our standard tolerances. So it says here, unless otherwise specifies, the tolerances are going to be in inches. So that tells us right away that this border, the units that we are using for all of the dimensioning on the part are going to be in inches. And if there is not a tolerance next to the dimension, and this again will make a little bit more sense as we talk on Wednesday, we are going to use this scheme right here. Okay, these are called title block tolerances. So if I have a 1 place decimal, for instance, the standard tolerance is going to be plus or minus 0.1. All that means is whatever that standard, that number is, that's the nominal value. And now we're going to add 0.1 or 1/10 of an inch above and 1/10 of an inch below. And now this is the range that it has to be made within. Okay, that's what a tolerance is in simplistic form. All right. Then we have the same thing for 2 place decimals, the same thing for 3 place decimals. Okay, what we're going to be doing in starting this process of getting dimensions on our drawings is we're just going to pick like, okay, all of our dimensions are going to be 2 place for this drawing. So we're not going to worry so much about it. But the important thing is here is that every title block has this information on it. And you need to check it and know it, especially if you're number one designing, because you have to know if I don't put a dimension on the back of that, it's going to default to whatever is here in the title block. So every dimension essentially does have a tolerance. Okay. And if you need it to be something other than that, then we have to specify it. And we'll learn in AutoCAD how to do that. Okay. But for right now, we're going to kind of keep it simple. Additionally, our tolerance plus or minus is 1/2 degree on any one of our angles. And then if it's a fractional dimension, which there shouldn't be many out there, but sometimes they creep in, it's going to be a plus or minus a 1/64 of an inch. Okay. You'll also notice down here, we have this symbol. Do you guys remember what this symbol was? It was like a long time ago, like 4 weeks ago. Any idea? What was that? No. Not the center. Oh, James raised his hand. I'll be there in just a second. Oh, he's probably raising his hand because he knows what it is. What is it, James?
Is it first view or no, third view?
Third angle projection. Yes. So remember, there was first angle projection and there's third angle projection. Third angle projection is the United States, right? And so that's where I said, I think we got this one right. The first angle projection is kind of wonky and backwards. So what this says is we are doing this in first angle projection. So as we project across, it's the edges that we see closest to us in our views. Okay. So this is the standard symbol for that. And so that has to be on a drawing identifying exactly what projection that is. Now, additionally, you're going to notice that up in the upper right-hand corner here, we have a place to put revisions. We won't see this very much, actually probably at all in this class. This is when we do make revisions. And at a company level, we need documentation of that so that they have kind of like breadcrumbs, like, why did you do that? Okay. And that way, if it affects other things, we know why and the date and who approved it and all that kind of stuff. Okay. So, so this is our standard title block. This is an A size inch title block. So if we go back to, our module, you're going to notice that there's a B size title block as well. I'm going to open that one up. We're going to look at that. Oopsie. I'm going to download it. Sorry. And we're going to notice that the title block is exactly the same. Okay. By design. Every company is going to have the same title block, but now just notice that the B size, the nature of how much larger it is, I've got more space to draw in. Okay, more space to draw in. And that's really the only difference here. Okay. And then there's also C size, D size. We won't need those, especially in the immediate future. As time goes by, maybe if we have larger drawings that we're making, we might put those in here, but this should, A's and B size drawings should do what we need to do. Okay. Now you'll notice that down here in the title block, again, exact same, information, and also the ability to fill it in automatically. But this time we have a B in the drawing size spot. Now, if we do that very same thing and we look at the metric, and I'm just going to pull up the A size. So A4 is, I guess I equate it to the A size, but it's the metric version of an 8.5 by 11. Ignore the unresolved. The only difference that we see down here is everything else in the title block is consistent, but now it says that our tolerances are in millimeters. And now we have different standard tolerances. So when we don't have any decimals on millimeters, which is very common because millimeters are pretty darn small to begin with, standard tolerance is going to be plus or minus 1 millimeter. Okay. And then if it's one decimal place, it's plus or minus 0.1 millimeters. The angles are the same. And so if there's any other decimals that are used, or you don't want to use these tolerances or they don't apply, then you have to specify them up in the actual drawing themselves by the dimension. Okay. So really the very same title block. Okay. So any questions about title blocks? Right. So the place that the thing I want you to do with these right now is get them downloaded somewhere where you can reference them, and we're going to be pulling them in. We're going to see as what we call blocks. We're going to be inserting them into our drawings once we have the multi-view drawings created, the views that we want. We're going to be pulling the border in and putting it around. It's kind of like an after. It's like we're going to get everything drawn first, and then we're going to pull our border in. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go back to Zoom, and I'm going to stop recording now so that this becomes its own little video. Oopsie, need this one. Oh, I can do it up here.